U.S. Central Command released footage on Friday showing a B-1 bomber taking off from a runway. As the U.S. military said, it launched airstrikes against Iran-backed militants in retaliation for last weekend's attack in Jordan that killed 3 U.S. troops. In a statement, the U.S. military said it hit more than 85 targets in 7 locations in Iraq and Syria. They said they struck command and control centers, weapons caches, as well as logistics facilities. The strikes targeted the Quds Force. It's the foreign espionage and paramilitary arm of Iran's Revolutionary Guard. It heavily influences allied militia across the Middle East, from Lebanon to Iraq and Yemen to Syria. Syrian state media said on Friday that an American aggression on sites in its desert areas and at the Syrian-Iraqi border resulted in a number of casualties and injuries. The Iraqi military said the strikes were in the Iraqi border area and warned they could ignite instability in the region. The strikes mark a further escalation from Israel's more than 3-month-old war with Palestinian Hamas militants in Gaza. Last week's drone attack in Jordan that killed 3 U.S. soldiers and wounded dozens more was the first deadly attack since the Israel-Hamas war erupted. Before the retaliatory strikes on Friday, Iranian President Ibrahim Raisi said that Iran would not start a war, but would respond strongly to anyone who tried to bully it.
It does represent a type of escalation, but I do think it's a rather measured escalation. Again, I would caveat that we have not yet seen the totality of the strikes that are potentially going to be taken, but thus far, these are targets similar to ones that the U.S. has targeted in the past after U.S. service members have been wounded or killed. The difference is, of course, is that we're just seeing more strikes and more targets. It's really, in some respect, been a long observed practice that the U.S. has conducted these self-defense strikes when U.S. service members are wounded, but especially when they're killed. But never really is it articulated out loud that that is the practice. So it is interesting that in his statement, President Biden did say that if you harm Americans, we're going to come after you. That seemingly is a public red line. Again, it really was policy, but now it's out there.
The United States has conducted a series of airstrikes targeting positions in both Syria and Iraq after an attack killed 3 U.S. troops in northeast Jordan several days ago. Now, these attacks are targeting positions that the U.S. has described as belonging to militias that are backed by Iran's paramilitary Revolutionary Guard and its Quds Force, which is its expeditionary unit that liaises with other militia groups in the Middle East, arms them, and trains them to serve as proxy forces. Now, we don't know exactly how many people were injured in these attacks. However, it does seem that the U.S. used the B-1B Lancer bomber. This is a long-range bomber that likely took off from the United States. It carries a lot of munitions and can target a lot of area. Now, We've heard from President Biden. He says that these attacks are not going to be the only ones, that there could be more attacks in the future. We have not yet heard from Iran. However, Iran in the past has warned that it will retaliate against any attack that targets its interests, and all of this comes amid Israel's war on Hamas in the Gaza Strip that already raised the fears of regional escalation over that war. And now with these new strikes, analysts are warning that this could start a new level of escalation in the wider region. I'm John Gambrell with the Associated Press in Jerusalem.
My name is Bradley Bowman. I'm Senior Director of the Center on Military and Political Power at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. It's still early. The initial reports are just coming in. But what we know as of right now is that U.S. forces have struck more than 85 targets using more than 125 precision munitions. Those targets are in Iraq and Syria. The administration source is saying that a wide range of facilities have been hit. That includes command and control centers, intelligence centers, rockets, missiles, unmanned aerial vehicle storage areas, logistics and munition supplies, as well as they claim some militia groups and Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps sponsors who have been involved with or supported attacks on U.S. and partner forces. What remains to be seen, one of the kind of the key unknown variables in this moment is it's clear that these attacks will do a lot of material damage to enemies of the United States, to Iranian proxies, Iranian funded and backed proxies, but how many personnel have been killed? That'll be the key thing. Secretary Austin hinted at the Pentagon podium this week. This may go on more than one day, and might be a sustained attack. I suspect the Biden administration is obviously being deliberately vague for a number of reasons, including operational security and not giving too much of a warning to our adversaries, but also because they want to leave their options open based on how the Iran-backed militias respond. I think based on early information, this is a serious attack, the kind of attack that only a few nations in the world could conduct. We'll have to get answers to some of the questions I've already posed, some of the details that are still TBD. But I think this is the United States saying we have the political will and the military capability to make those who would kill our soldiers pay a very heavy price.